Celtics lose a heartbreaker at the buzzer to the Lakers, but they win at the deadline. My name is Mike Petralia, joined by Josue Pavone and Chris Grenham. Look, it was a tough game. Tough to walk out of this building for Danny Ainge. He walked into the press room and said, you mess with the basketball gods, that's what you get. But I think long-term, Danny Ainge has to be happy with the way today unfolded because Anthony Davis stayed put with the New Orleans Pelicans.
I mean, they're in, right?
Yeah,
now they get into the party. They had to wait outside. The bouncer wouldn't let them in. And now they're in, essentially. And that was a win alone. It was a quiet deadline. They were able to ship off Jabari Bird and get that extra roster spot, which was huge. But the big win here is the fact that they have a play at Anthony Davis in this offseason. And there was a chance that wasn't going to happen. But, you know, Danny, whatever strings he had to pull, he convinced them that waiting until the summer, which we spoke about plenty of times, would be worth it, and ultimately that's what they decided.
After the game, Josue, not to interrupt you, but Kyrie Irving said that Danny Ainge and management essentially indicated to the team that the Celtics were set at the deadline.
Yeah.
There was no real intention of making any major or, for that matter, minor move. Of course, Jabari Bird was traded to the Atlanta Hawks, but that's about it, and that's to clear a roster spot. But not only did Kyrie Irving say that, Brad Stevens before the game said the team was pretty set, so not a lot of drama this day.
Right, and I think the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference knew the exact same thing, which is why I think that had a lot to do with a lot of the movement that we saw between teams like the Toronto Raptors, you know, the teams in the top tier that's looking to improve their teams, the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, these are teams that are ahead of the Celtics. Some of them are sort of in the middle there, you know, competing for that third spot where the Celtics are currently in right now. And I feel like all three of those teams, or to a certain extent, they want to bolster their roster because they know the Celtics are going to stay pat.
Yeah.
And they also know that this team is going to improve eventually between now and the start of the postseason. I think that's sort of, you see that coming. You know, we've seen that throughout the last couple of weeks. We've seen this stride from the Celtics. They've hit that stride that everyone has sort of predicted out of them. And I think they all felt a certain way, thinking to themselves, look, we can better our roster while the Celtics stay pat because we know that they're all in for Anthony Davis. And let's attack them now. Let's go for it now. Let's see if we can get to the NBA Finals. And, of course, everyone knows to get there, you have to go through the Boston Celtics. All three of those teams know that.
What do we think that all in really means? Now that we're here, like we're waiting for the offseason, obviously we're going to, you know, kill this talk a little bit, but does that mean Tatum? Where do the Celtics go from here?
I think Tatum is definitely involved.
Yeah.
All of the rumors that you have heard, all the reports, the leaks coming out of Celtics camp is that no one is untradeable, right? And that means Jason Tatum. That means Jaylen Brown, the last two upper echelon picks for the Celtics. They're in there. I think Robert Williams. If Anthony Davis is involved coming to the Celtics,
you have to give them a big.
Think that the New Orleans Pelicans want somebody like Robert Williams going back the other way.
I mean, a young, raw, athletic big like him. If you're the Pelicans, why would you not ask for him? It makes total sense.
Right.
But thought it was interesting. We were in the locker room after the game, and Jason Tatum said he was relieved that he was still on the team, and he kind of chuckled a little bit, and then he said, you know, it's nice to have it over with. And he kind of paused and he said, for now.
For now, yeah.
And I kind of looked around and I was like, oh, man.
Because the jitters are going to come as soon as the postseason's over for the Celtics team. I mean, they have to if you're Jason Tatum.
You're going to be looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, you have to. And you also have to be ready for that mentally. And you also have to remember the fact that he's going to perform at a high level in the postseason.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown could perform at a high level in the postseason. He's already showing signs of that.
Yeah.
We talked about how after last year's postseason that if they were able to make a trade with using those guys, obviously because of the Rose Rule, they were unable to do that. Their stock was at its highest at that point because of their performances in the postseason. Right. I'm looking for something similar, or I'm expecting something similar from both of those guys this coming May, maybe possibly June.
This Garden Report is brought to you by the great folks at betonline.ag. Go to CLNSmedia.com/win and use the promo code CLNS50 for a 50% buy-in bonus. Again, use the promo code CLNS50 at clnsmedia.com/win, brought to you by the great folks from betonline.ag. All right, I don't think the Celtics are good enough defensively. That's my concern. That's my big takeaway from the day, and they didn't really get a big man to address that. But I think we talked about this before the game, Chris.
Not yet.
Not yet. There might be a buyout candidate out there who could help them.
I mean, it's not Enes Kanter. You can't go after someone who's going to require or really look for 15 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, because the Celtics don't have minutes to give. They just don't.
Right.
That's the way it is. And this is someone, whoever they're bringing in, whether you like it or not, they're going to try and ship them off for an Anthony Davis potentially in an Anthony Davis trade because that mid-level exception, I don't want to get all salary cap nerd on you, but
you have to.
But that exception allows them to double up and match that salary. So that gives them a leg up in a potential trade this summer.
Yeah.
So whoever they're bringing in, it's going to be short term. They're not going to get a lot of minutes, but I agree. Someone to help on the boards and down low on the defensive side would really help. Yeah,
you're essentially looking for an improvement from what we saw last year from Greg Monroe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, someone that can move the floor, or who can run the floor a little quicker than we saw from Monroe. You saw Daniel Tice put up a really good performance against the Lakers. Whether that is going to translate on the defensive end, I mean, I haven't seen it all year long.
Yeah.
It's been tough. He's struggled a lot defensively. I don't know if he's going to be able to turn that around. So addressing those needs before the postseason would be very beneficial for the Celtics right now.
All right, the Celtics lose one on the court to the Lakers, 129-128, but they win at the deadline because Anthony Davis is still in New Orleans. We'll have complete coverage on CLNSmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter @CelticsCLNS. Inside TD Garden for Josue Pavone and Chris Grenham, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.